Live from New York, this is WIUR Radio.
What's going on, everyone? This is Eric here of the Mincin Show. There's a lot to talk about today on this episode. We have some news coming out from Port St. Lucie um, regarding Francisco Lindor, regarding Juan Soto, regarding King Cohen, as Sal Licata would say. And I want to start off by talking about the remarks of Steve Cohen, the Mets owner. These remarks were statements, music to the ears of Mets fans around the city, around the state, around the country, wherever they're Met fans, music to their ears. I don't have any sound bites, unfortunately, nor do I really have quotes, but to summarize it shortly, one thing that stood out to me in his press conference, sort of in the dugout conference thing with the reporters, was he was asked a question about the next captain of the New York Mets. And his response to that was that I was not expecting him to say this at all, but he basically said that as long as he's owner of the New York Mets, there will not be a single captain named for the rest of time under the Cohen ownership. And this is a good thing. And let me tell you why. There were reports earlier this offseason, right around when Nimmo was traded to the Texas Rangers. And there's discussions all offseason about the Mets clubhouse and how it was toxic and how Nimmo didn't get along with Lindor and Lindor didn't get along with McNeil, which was true. I don't think Lindor and McNeil got along well at all. And McNeil definitely needed to go. But that's besides the point. And how Lindor and Soto didn't get along and there was a mix of politics involved. And another thing that came out was how Nimmo wanted to be named the captain of the Mets. And to be honest with you, I think I would have given it to him. I think that if I was Cohen or Mendoza, I think Cohen names the captains. But if I was Cohen, I think I would have given it to Nimmo over Lindor. And I say that because Nimmo's he was a homegrown guy. And he understood the losing aspect of being a New York Met. He understood how to lose. And the moment where I thought that he was going to be a Met for life and that he just enjoyed being a Met. And I mean, Nimmo, even though I wanted him gone, like I said in previous episodes, I wanted him gone. This was the offseason to trade him away, ship off his contract, and move on from him. I mean, there was a big contract that he had, so he needed to go, but he was a great, great Met because in 2024, when the Mets clinched at home against the Philadelphia Phillies, and the camera pans over to him and he's crying, that resonates with Mets fans. That if you look at a player on your team, no matter what the team is, it could be the Dodgers, and your player, a homegrown guy who's been in the organization for, I think he was in the organization for like 12 years, 6 years in the majors, 6 in the minors, or whatever the case may be. He was with the team for his entire adult life, pretty much. And finally, he's getting a taste of success. And, year after year after year, he came up in 2016. There was that wild card game. They got shelled by the Giants. They lose in the wild card in 2016. No playoffs in 2017. No playoffs in 2018. No playoffs in 2019. No playoffs in 2020. No playoffs in 2021. Then 2022, he has a good year. He has a big year. Average on-base percentage, home runs. He's a catalyst for that 101 win team. and then but they don't go anywhere. They lose in the wild card again. 2 games this time they lose, or 3 games. And then in 23, nothing. And then finally in 24, he's getting a taste of, oh my gosh, we're going to the National League Championship Series with a team that I've been on for how many years? So that's why I think I would have named Nimmo captain out of instead of Lindor. Lindor came in 2021, thumbs down to the fans, the scuffle with McNeil, the early season struggles for like 3 months, and then he finally turns it on, but it's too late. He can't carry the team. I think Nimmo deserved it more than Lindor, and I'm so happy that I know that Cohen is not naming Lindor captain. And again, there were rumors on David Wright's retirement day that they were just going to switch it over to Lindor and that David Wright was going to hand him the baton to be the next New York Met captain. I'm very glad that that didn't happen either. Now, would I have liked to see it? Yeah. I would have loved to see my favorite baseball player hand the baton to Francisco Lindor to be the next captain. Because to be honest with you, for every year that Lindor has been in Met since 21, he's been my favorite. He was my favorite in 22 against the Yankees, hitting the 3 home runs. That will forever be etched in my memory and many Mets fans' memories, for that matter. That was a monumental moment. Or again, in all the home runs in 24. Lindor I liked a lot until this offseason where I realized I think he's a problem. I think he's the problem. And, some things there were things off about last year's team in 2025. That's clear. And the team never seemed to get out of their own way, whether that is they didn't have a leader or there were fights between the leaders of the team, between Nimmo and Lindor. I don't think Alonso is necessarily a leader, but maybe that's why to be frank, they sucked last year. They sucked last year, maybe because they had 2 leaders that fought it out every day, every game. Now that Nimmo's gone, maybe they're leaning into Lindor a little bit and saying, "Hey, you are our guy still. We still care about you. You're still kind of the face of the franchise outside of Soto." I think ultimately Soto's the face of the franchise now, but I think that they're still giving Lindor that treatment of it's your team. We're building around you. We're building around Soto. Now, the bad thing about this is him and Soto don't get along. Yeah, they have that, teammate friendship, but you don't see them hanging out all the time and being together, especially in these videos coming out now in spring training. You don't see them all buddy buddy. And I don't really care for that, but I think it's important. I think it's important to get along with your teammates. You're going to spend what is it, 5 months together on the road, at home, constantly, 162 games. You're going to constantly be with these guys. I would hope you get along. I would hope you share something in common. Now, you see it with Soto and Luis Robert Jr., or Luis Robert Jr. You see it there. They are at each other's, they're attached to the hip. Robert and Soto. And that's good. That is I love to see that. And I mentioned in the last episode how Scott Boras, surprisingly enough, mentioned how Luis Robert is going to be learning a lot from Soto, and he's going to be under Soto's wing every step of the way, 162 games, 5 months or whatever, how many months it is. And he's going to be working with Soto. And I think that that's going to be key for Robert's success. Another thing that's going to be key for Robert's success is him staying healthy. And this leads me to my next point. And I'll get back to all Cohen's comments again, stuff he said about, money, stuff he said about Dodgers. But I just want to get that out of the way with the captain being named, because that's been an issue on this team. Who's going to be named captain? Who's going to be named captain since David Wright has left since 2018? So it's good to know that there won't be a captain under a Cohen leadership. That's good to know. Get that out of the way. Now no one needs to fight about who deserves to be captain. But this leads me to now my next point of Luis Robert needing to stay healthy and what Mendoza is going to be doing to start out spring training. And I saw a tweet yesterday from someone saying how it was such a badly worded tweet. And it said, Mendoza announces that Luis Robert, Francisco Alvarez, Jorge Polanco, Marcus Semien, Bo Bichette, all these players will not be starting the year. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? They won't be starting the year. And then you scroll down and it's like only in spring training. Good. That account should be deleted, to be honest with you. Anyway, I like the idea of having these players stay healthy for as long as possible throughout spring training. They do not need to be playing every game in spring training. They do not need to be constantly on the field getting reps. Just keep doing batting practice. Do your fielding drills. Stay loose, stay warm. Keep your arm warm if you're a pitcher. But you don't need to pitch every game. You don't need to pitch 5 innings in a spring training game like, that one year Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer did right before the start of the season. I think that's dangerous. And I love that Mendoza is taking caution with his players. This is an older team. Even though Luis Robert is not old, he's young still, but he's just injury prone. And that's a bad thing to have for a young player, especially of Robert's ceiling. He has a immensely high ceiling that if he reaches, he can be great for this team. And I think he does reach it if he learns a lot from Soto, and I think he will. So I think it's very good what Mendoza is doing to start the year in spring training, letting these guys have their reps on the side field, on the small fields. Don't put them in games right away. And that they did that with Nimmo a lot to keep him healthy. It's a common thing to do, but just the way that tweet was worded was horrible. And people were like, "What? They're not starting the year on opening day? Like, we might miss Lindor, sure, not missing much anyway. He'd probably go 0 for 5 anyway, but it's important to keep these guys healthy. That's the point. Especially guys that are injury prone or older that you signed or traded for that are going to be a piece of your team. Jorge Polanco, Marcus Semien. Marcus Semien is going to be a huge piece, a huge cog in the wheel. He's going to be a huge piece for this team. He's going to be the second baseman, everyday second baseman. Sometimes Ronnie Mauricio, who looks great so far this spring. These guys are going to be, this team looks exciting so far. They're meshing well. You see it already in these videos on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. They're meshing a lot well than they did in previous years. Soto looks happier. He's meshing well with Semien. He's meshing well with Polanco and obviously Robert. Lindor being hurt, he's just standing around kind of just being a spectator at this point. But this team looks exciting right now. This team definitely looks exciting. And I can't wait for opening day. City Field against Paul Skeens, Freddie Peralta. That's going to be a matchup that I can't wait to watch. But going back on my Cohen point on why Cohen is the greatest owner in sports currently, here's why he's the greatest owner in sports right now. He mentions everything that a Mets fan slash any fan wants to hear from their owner. He's annoyed that he has not won a damn thing in 6 years of owning this team, or 5 years of owning this team. 5 full years of owning this team. He's gotten nowhere. And it's not his fault. You'll hear fans, I know a ton of people that say, "Oh, the Wilpons were better. The Wilpons were better." You're out of your mind to think that the Wilpons were better than Steve Cohen. The one point that I have that the Wilpons were worse than Steve Cohen and will forever be the worst owners in baseball history / history ever is they said when Bryce Harper and Manny Machado were in free agency, and I say this all the time, Jeff Wilpon came out and said, "I don't know many teams that have two $30 million players." He was hinting at them just signing, this was 2019 or 2018. He was hinting at, "Oh, well, we have Cespedes. He's making $30 million a year. We have Cespedes. We'll be fine." I don't know many teams that have two $30 million players. That's a joke. And when he said that, you knew that it was over. You knew that the Wilpons were done, that there was no hope for that team under Wilpon control. And thank God that Cohen came into Mets fans' lives. Because he said yesterday during his press conference that the Dodgers, he was asked a question about how he feels about the Dodgers and what they did this offseason and stealing Diaz. And we'll get into Diaz as well and them going back and forth with Diaz. But Cohen said that the Dodgers are formidable. They're doing a great job with what they're doing, signing out all the players that they want and, getting just outbidding everyone. And that's a good thing for baseball. I think it's a great thing for baseball. I think it is. It's unfortunate that it's happening, that the Dodgers take everyone, but I think it's a good thing. It forces these other teams to get involved. And that's why a salary floor is needed. And that's what I talked about in the last episode. A salary floor is a must. But Cohen said, look, the Dodgers they can spend. They have a ton of money and they still do. They will always have unlimited money, deep pockets, those Dodgers. But so do I. And those 3 words, "so do I," were music to my ears. They were music to Sal Licata's ears. They were music to every Mets fan's ears around the city, around the state. To know that you have an owner that cares so much about this team, and he said it in the press conference yesterday as well. He cares a ton about this team, and he's fully 100% dedicated to the Mets, not to his casino, not to anything else, not his artwork. He's fully committed to the New York Mets, and he's building the casino to bring in more people, to have the place around it look more attractive than just car dumps and trash everywhere. Make the place look more vibrant. We're getting the new football soccer stadium next door. The place is going to look amazing in 2030. It's rumored that it's going to be finished by 2030. So let's hope. Construction apparently started today. He's not building his casino for money. He's building it so that more people can come in and they'll say, "Oh, look, the Mets are playing a game today. Let's go," after we lose all our money. The guy's a genius, and I will never doubt Steve Cohen. I will never doubt him, ever. And to say people say that the Wilpons were better is a joke, and they should apologize right away. And I never doubted David Stearns as well. If this team fails, I said it before, if this team fails, it'll be embarrassing, it'll be annoying, because this team should be constantly in the playoffs every year. And that's what Cohen wants. That's the only thing Cohen wants. He just wants to win every year, be consistently in the playoffs every year, gives you the best chance to win. Once you make the playoffs, anything can happen. That was proven by the 2024 New York Mets. Once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. It is important to build a team that is fully capable and ready to make the playoffs year in and year out. And that's all Cohen wants. And that's why I believe Stearns is doing that. I believe he's building a team that knows how to win and, more importantly, knows how to lose. It's not going to take them a week and a half to get over one loss. You know, you're going to have tough losses. Every team has tough losses. The Dodgers have tough losses. Ninth inning heartbreakers. Now that they have Diaz, they're going to have way more. So good luck, Dodgers. They'll still win 100 games. They'll still win the championship 3 years in a row. But what I'm saying is that Stearns built a team that knows how to win. Champions on that team, Simeon. Bo Bichette was not a champion, but he was just in the World Series. He knows how to win. He knows how to lose. Simeon knows how to lose. They've all been on losing clubs. And that is absolutely key in building a team, especially a team like this. Freddie Peralta bringing culture into that clubhouse, fun, light culture. Mendoza a couple weeks ago said the team last year was too corporate, too business-like. Let's loosen up. Let's have fun. Soto mentioning the other day, I'm not worried about 25 anymore. That's in the past, and clearly something went wrong last year, clearly, where he had to say 2025 is in the past. I'm focused on 26. We're looking to have fun. And that reminds me of, JD Martinez and what he said in his team meeting that he held after the Jorge Lopez debacle. Listen, let's just have fun. We're already the worst team. Let's just have fun. And that's also music to Mets fans' ears. Once you know that it's just a game and you're just having fun, everything seems less important. The pressure is off now. Just play the game. And now you stop worrying about what your swing looks like. And you stop worrying about, is this ball going to take a bad hop? Just eye on the ball, hit the ball, back to your basic little league mentality. Now, the pitchers might have it a little bit tougher. They have to worry about, is the hitter guessing fastball here? Is the hitter guessing slider? Am I tipping my pitches? But as a hitter, I never understood how a hitter can stay in a slump for months. I never understood that. Now, I wasn't the greatest baseball player. And yeah, baseball is the hardest sport to play. I mean, you're trying to hit a ball with a skinny bat. The ball's going 103 miles per hour now with movement. It's going up, it's going down, it's going to the side. You don't know where the hell this ball's going. It's the hardest sport to play. So maybe I do understand it a little bit, why it takes Lindor 4 months to get going. Maybe I understand. But at the end of the day, you are professional baseball players, and you should know to just take it easy. Yeah, you're getting paid $40 million a year. Yeah, you have, this is a prove-it year for Alvarez. So maybe there is some pressure there. He's trying to make some big money in the offseason or whatever the case may be, whenever he's a free agent. He's trying to make money. All these guys are just trying to make a living. So they put pressure on themselves. But I never understood that. And I don't think I ever will because I'm not a baseball player making $40 million a year. I wish I was. It was a dream at once. However, this team is very, very excitable to watch already. Just watching them take ground ball drills and hitting and batting cage, they look a lot looser, less businesslike, serious. It's important to be serious about winning, but to get to that point of, oh, if we lose today, we're going to hear about it tomorrow, and then we lose that game, and then we'll hear about all these losses back and forth. It starts piling up. Just play loose, play fun. And I think part of it was also Mendoza's fault. I love Mendoza. Even last year, I loved him. He had a little bit of that sophomore slump. Everyone has a sophomore slump. And I think Mendoza had that. He didn't really understand. He was just trying to map and match out what happened in 24 and trying to catch that, electric in a bottle or whatever the saying is. Catch lightning in a bottle. That's it. And I think Mendoza now, this is probably his final year. This is also his prove it year. If you do bad this year, you're gone. If you show us and you prove to us that you can manage this team and lead us to a playoff game or games now at this point. I mean, if the Mets make the wild card and they make it past the wild card, I would keep Mendoza. I would extend Mendoza another 3 years. I mean, 2 out of 3 years you make the playoffs, that's good. But you got to keep doing it. You got to keep proving to New York Mets fans, that you can lead this team consistently to the playoffs. And once you make it to the playoffs, like I said before, anything can happen. So I trust Stearns, I trust Cohen, I trust Mendoza, I trust everyone on this team right now. Now, news came out yesterday about the Player Association. I won't stay too much on this topic because I don't really know much. I didn't read into it, but I heard some rumblings about it. The Player Association president or leader or whatever you call him is resigning and is under investigation for something. And I was listening to WFAN, Evan Roberts, and Tiki Barber, and they mentioned 2 names that can be the next president of the Player Association, MLB Player Association. And one name that stuck out was none other than himself, Scott Boras. Now, here's why this would be a traumatic thing for the sport. This would be terrible if Scott Boras was the Player Association president. All this guy wants to do is make the owners' lives a living hell, and he wants what's best for players. Now, obviously, everyone wants what's best for the players. Everyone wants that. But this guy, Boras, will go through hell and back to make sure that his client gets what he wants and gets what he deserves. Now, if Scott Boras were to become the next president of baseball operations, we're not seeing a game being played for years. Nothing will get done. It'll be like Congress, how nothing gets done if Scott Boras is in charge of the Player Association. The owners want, a salary cap. The players don't want a salary cap. Ultimately, the owners will probably win, but that'll take a year. That's why I don't think we're playing game. We're not playing a game in 2027. I think we're skipping that year completely, and hopefully I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong because I don't know if I can live a whole year without baseball would be impossible. But we've seen it before. It happened recently in 2023 or 22, where it took all spring training almost up to the day of opening day to get a deal done. Now, I just want to see any other Mets news and what Steve Cohen said, and we'll bring it back to um, the Diaz scenario and all that stuff that happened with Diaz. But you look at the team closer now, Devin Williams, and clearly Cohen was mad with the outcome of Edwin Diaz. Clearly that bothered him. And also what bothered him was losing Kyle Tucker. And he said it before how the loss of Kyle Tucker ate at him that night. And that's why he woke up in the morning and they signed Bo Bichette. So here's a quote from Steve Cohen about Edwin Diaz, and then I'll read the Edwin Diaz quote as well. So Steve Cohen said, King Cohen, I did find that one perplexing, the Diaz signing with the Dodgers. I'm not sure exactly how Edwin arrived at that decision. Now, this is kind of odd, and it kind of proves my point to Diaz kind of just taking the easy way out. The Dodgers are offering me any type of contract. They just won 2 World Series in a row. I'm going to the Dodgers. Screw the Mets. I don't care about the Mets anymore. If the Dodgers want me, the winning championship, 2-time back-to-back championship winning Dodgers want me, I'm there. You can offer me a 1-year deal free, and I'm there. That's basically what Diaz probably said. So here's Diaz's response. The Dodgers did a great job recruiting me, whatever that means. I guess he felt that Billy Epler, Steve Cohen and David Stearns didn't really care about him and what he really wanted. He goes on to say, I have a lot of respect for the Mets organization. Cool. Thanks. Thanks, Diaz. Thanks, Edwin. I think Cohen was surprised that David Stern, maybe Cohen was a little, upset with David Stearns at one point. I think I would be, because this team was definitely imagined around also having Edwin Diaz in the back end of the bullpen. I don't think they imagined Devin Williams being their closer. I think they signed Devin Williams to be their setup man, that 8th inning guy. They saw that he was doing a good job with the Yankees in that 8th inning role. He took it and ran with it with the Yankees, and they said, you know what, if he's going to be an 8th inning guy, let's make him an 8th inning guy for Diaz. And then, unfortunately, they lost Diaz, and now they were like a little bit stunned and perplexed. And I can't blame Cohen. I can't blame Stearns. I can't blame Diaz. I don't know who to blame in this predicament here, in this outcome. It's a weird thing that happened. The Mets offered $3 million less than the Dodgers, and almost felt like, Diaz probably didn't go back to the Mets with any offer. But now we'll see. The Mets have Devin Williams. He was a top 2 closer in the game for 5 years, 6 years, however long. So we'll see. I'm very excited for this team, though. I'm very excited for this team. And I want to get into real quick. I'll end it on this. The clubhouse on Soto and Lindor. Soto saying that the goal of 2026 is to have fun, forget about the drama, win some ball games. So clearly there was drama. Clearly there was something wrong in 2025. And I'll admit, I didn't want to believe it. I said to myself, "Oh, Soto, what are these? These Yankee fans are just jealous that they were outbid by the little brother for the first time ever. They're just jealous. They're just upset." But I think they were right. Something was definitely wrong with Juan Soto, and something was definitely wrong with that clubhouse. Now, I don't know if Soto just grew up, and it brings it to a weird point with his, Juan Soto shuffle. And, why he ditched that. I don't know why he ditched that. Maybe he just matured in 1 year. I don't know. Maybe the vibes were just very off, and he just did not feel like he belonged, or he didn't feel connected to his teammates, and he didn't feel connected to the blue and orange. I don't know what the case may be. But clearly his goal now is forget about whatever happened last year. Forget about the drama of me and Lindor, about him being, all luxurious and him wearing designer clothing, and I'm just walking in with sweatpants and a t-shirt. I don't care what the hell happened. Forget about it. We're here to win baseball games. That's what I'm being paid $54 million a year for 15 years, 14 years now. That's what I'm being paid to do, and that's what I'm going to do. So I love the quote from Soto there. The question was, what was your perception of the clubhouse in 2025? He says, that's in the past. We forget about it. We're focused on 2026. Music to my ears. Forget about it. Who cares what the perception was in 2025? The whole team in 2025 is basically gone. It's a brand new team. The whole lineup's different. Bichette's new. Robert's new. Simeon's new. Polanco's new. And you're probably going to add Benjamin. Those are 5 new guys in a lineup of 9. Majority of the lineup this year is new. And I think that's a good thing, especially after being embarrassed in 2025. The thing that worries me is Lindor's quote now. And I think this is where we'll end it. Lindor's quote was, "Are we all best friends?" That's not how it works in the clubhouse. Now, I said before, I don't give a crap about who's best friends and who's friends with who. I don't care. Win baseball games. I want to win. I'm not paying $35 on a hot dog and a water to watch you guys lose 9-3 against the Pittsburgh Pirates in July. Okay, I'm not here for that. I don't care about if you guys get along in the clubhouse. Just win baseball games. However, I think what he should have said, he should have worded it a little bit differently, maybe. I don't know. I think he should have said, look, we're not focused on being buddy-buddy. And I guess this is what he meant, really. But, that they're not focused on being buddy-buddy and best friends and hanging out all the time and, going to dinner every night. Just win baseball games. That's what you're being paid to do. He goes on to say, but we are friends. We're good teammates. We love each other. And we want the best for each other. You have me sold. You have me sold. I think this team is going to be very good this year. I do. Projected at 90 wins. Don't see how they got that number, but I think it's going to be very good. And I'm very excited to see this team perform. Hopefully everyone stays healthy. If, like I said before, if Luis Robert stays healthy, he's going to have a monster year. Francisco Alvarez, if he stays healthy, he lost like 50 pounds. If he stays healthy, he's going to have a monster year. It's his prove it year. I can see them moving on from Francisco Alvarez at the end of this year. I can. I definitely can see them finding someone else or just making Luis Torrens their starter. I can see that happening. But anyway, I think we'll end it there for episode 4. Next week, we'll see what happens. We have maybe a game to talk about. Saturday's the first spring training game for the Mets against the Marlins, I believe. So next week, we'll probably talk about that game. Again, none of the starters are really playing, but we'll see what else comes up, what other press conferences. If Stearns has a press conference, we'll cover it next week. And until then, I'm Eric Mincin, your host of The Mincin Show, and I'll see you guys next week at 12:30, same time. Have a good one, guys.